Thank you very much, Tim. Thanks for the very kind introduction. It's really lovely to be here with you, and it's an honour, actually, for me to speak at the CRU event today. When I received the invitation to speak, I very quickly grabbed my diary, and I was very pleased to see a space there that I could say yes to this, because for a whole host of reasons, this is an organisation that's close to my heart. As was mentioned, a long time ago, I was a teacher, and I saw firsthand the way that CRU groups played such an important role in students' lives. And when I was young, for several years, a bunch of us led a CRU camp, a surf camp down in the south coast at Gerringong. And we were sort of university age and then a little bit older than that. There's one or two of them in the room here, I've noticed, pretending to be upstanding citizens. Don't be fooled by that. We were kind of taking these kids for a week of Bible study and surfing, and it was fabulous. Now, Gary, this was around 30 years ago. But I do have to say, I'm not sure that camp would pass today's standards of health and safety. We used to pray that no one would drown. That does the trick. But I'm not sure that the systems that were in place that could have been. And it was a small miracle that everyone survived. But just to paint you a bit of a picture, we were in this big old rambling house with kids everywhere. They were crashed out on mattresses in lounge rooms and wherever they could find somewhere to lie down. And it was honestly a bit festy and smelly. And it was all boys. I assume and hope that has changed. And one year, can't remember which year it was, but one year, someone thought it was a good idea to invite a visiting English clergyman who was really a gentleman scholar to be our speaker for the week. Now, to say that this was a clash of cultures would be an understatement. And one night, as we were all preparing for bed, still sunburnt and sandy, and people still got zinc cream all over themselves, and they were getting ready to lie down, our guest speaker appeared in a silk dressing gown and slippers. And I don't think our CRU had ever seen anything like it. Now, I'm sure he felt the same way about us. I don't think that week we did anything to dispel the notion of the vulgar colonials. But I love those camps. It was a time of being in God's creation and enjoying each other's company, and it was powerful, actually, in terms of being able to share God's love with these little grommets, as they're called, young surfers. And it was a really fun time, a special time for me, and I hope for the people who were there too. And I want to just ask ourselves today, why does this sort of thing matter? Well, I work for the Centre for Public Christianity, or CPX. And we are all about trying to promote the truth, beauty, and goodness of the Christian story to a secular culture that's largely forgotten that story. And so we have a very keen awareness of just how far people are from the church and from Christian faith today, and just how foreign that whole thing is to so many people. We're trying to bridge a chasm that is as large, metaphorically speaking, as an English don in his silk dressing gown and a whole lot of little surf rats in board shorts and thongs. It is a chasm. We're trying to bridge that. Last year, Barna Research, along with World Vision Australia, released a study on 18 to 35-year-olds around the world and then here in Australia, and it was really revealing. A few things struck out to me. Only 3 in 10 of these kids, young people I should say, felt deeply cared for by those around them. Interestingly, 3 in 10 met the definition of being anxious and lonely and isolated. 3 in 10. But interestingly, was noted in this survey that people in that age group who had Christian faith reported feeling much more connected, optimistic, and they had stronger personal relationships. These aren't by accident. This is all relevant to what we're focusing on today. You see, this is not the time for Christians to retreat and to disengage with a culture. You see, our culture, I would say, is struggling to find meaningful answers, satisfying answers to life's deepest questions. You know, the biggest killer for people under 40 today is suicide. I find that astonishing statistic. Well, the world's getting more complex, isn't it? It's a tricky place for our young people. But what hasn't changed is the human longing to be part of something bigger than ourselves. And we long for strong community. We long for solid identity, for my life to mean something. We long to be loved, to be known, and to be loved. And the Christian story, I don't get depressed about this, right? I think our Christian story speaks right into these longings in really powerful ways. And this is the story that CRU camps and groups and other activities embody and declare in a place of relational richness that I think is not easy to find these days. Embody it and declare it, and it's in a place of relational richness. Let me tell you a story about a family from my church in Manly. It's a family of 3 boys and a mum and dad. And the story starts with the eldest son, Matt. Now, when I knew I was going to be speaking today, I went and talked to Matt just to get some of the details of this story right. And we begin when he's in year 5, and a family friend comes along and tells him that there's this dirt bike camp coming up, and would he like to go? And it's a Crusader camp. And Matt thinks, yeah, that could be good. It'd be fun to ride around on dirt bikes, and I might meet some friends. He hasn't had much Christian input in his life at all at that point. And so he goes along. And this is what he said about it. He said his leader was a young, faithful follower of Jesus. And such a witness to him that week that by the end of the week, he thought, whatever he has, I want that. Whatever he has, I want some of that. And Matt says he could just tell that there was something different about his leader. The way he lived his life, the joy that he had. Well, Matt became a Christian that week. He made a kind of decision there. But that really was just the beginning of a journey. And he went along to CRU lunchtime groups for years, he said, trying to work out what did this all mean. Right, I made the commitment, now what's it look like? And so off he went. And he said he had moments, key kind of light bulb moments of grasping the grace of God and the gift of salvation. And when I pressed him about what he thought was unique about the camp experience, he said undoubtedly it was young people talking to young people. Young people that had something that made their lives different, that they lived it out, that he thought carried a real weight and was very compelling in his young life. So people committed to their faith and living it out. Well, the story of Matt doesn't end there. Matt's been a youth leader himself for about 7 years. Both his younger brothers became Christian. One of those boys has been my son's youth leader for many years now, and he's had a huge impact on my son and all his friends. It's been incredible, actually. And then their third son is a really great friend of my daughter's, and he himself is a really committed Christian, full of life. It's an attractive kind of faith that draws you in. And he's done that with lots and lots of people. The boys' mum and dad are now members of our church. And their home, it's incredible actually, they live in a nice place, mind you, but their home has become a hub of activity, of sharing life together and sharing faith together. It's been amazing to watch the way the ripples, you might even call them waves, that have gathered momentum, building from that initial moment of a decision at a CRU camp of that little boy, sensing something true and compelling in the message he received there. Matt says about this, It's crazy how God works like that. I haven't really done anything. He's just used me as a vessel to bring others in. It's cool, I guess, if you trace it back to that origin point. Cool indeed. Maybe even miraculous. I'm pleased to be able to say that Matt is here today in the room. He's about to write you a big check, Gary. CRU has a long history of this type of thing, where you don't even know sometimes the impact of these things that are happening. But a long history of not only telling but embodying the gospel of grace and love and beauty. And you see, it's inviting young people into a vision of the world where the God of the universe knows you and actually cares about you. He's interested in you. It's a vision of life where every human life is precious and part of a great cosmic drama. And where there is real hope, the sort of hope that I think is deeply lacking in our culture, where there is real hope for a future that is meaningful and wonderful. It may be that this enterprise, this vehicle for telling that story, is needed more today than it ever has been. And I commend it to you. I really think it's worthy of your support. Thank you.